What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Collider Media Studio at the Cinema Center at South by Southwest 2025. I am lucky enough to be sitting with the team behind Forge. Huge congratulations on your movie. Fascinating scenario that I can't wait to dig into right now. Congrats. And first feature.
Yeah,
big deal. I'm going to be emphasizing that quite heavily. Clearly, I know what your movie is about, but when we celebrate a film festival debut, our audience is first going to learn about it through this interview. So can you kick us off with a brief synopsis?
Yeah, so Forge follows two siblings in Miami who run an art forgery ring. And meanwhile, an art crimes FBI agent moves down to Miami to investigate a string of forgeries.
You came prepared. I appreciate that. I want to dig into the story evolution to start here, because I was reading in your director's statement that when you first started writing Forge, AI art generators, I mean, they didn't not exist, but they weren't as prevalent as they are now. So it was making me wonder, can you tell us the biggest difference between draft one of this screenplay and the finished film everyone's going to see here?
Oh gosh. Well, when I first wrote Forge in 2021, like it was set in New York. There were totally different characters, but I went through the Film Independent Screenwriting Lab that year, and they were so supportive. And basically the script became more personal. I set it in my hometown of Miami and like made the characters more similar to like my life. And definitely I think like the biggest change was the setting.
Oh yeah. Miami is, I mean,
yeah.
I feel like it's a cliche thing to say, but Miami's character in the movie, it's a big deal. Again, first feature, it's a really big deal to make something like that happen. When you decided you wanted to make your first feature film, what did you think was step one to making that dream a reality? And now having done it, would you recommend that first step to another aspiring filmmaker?
Definitely. I mean, the first step was developing it in like the Film Independent Screenwriting Lab was always like my goal, because they're so supportive as an organization. I had just graduated from film school and I really didn't know what my next step was going to be, but I knew that I wanted to take a jump into genre. And as a female director, that can be hard. So I spent a lot of time developing this script.
Yeah. Like all types of stories, I definitely exist primarily in the genre space, so I appreciate that mentality. Yeah. Again, Jing's first feature as a director. I have very high hopes after seeing Forge that there's going to be many, many more coming her way in the future. So for the three of you, can you tell me something about her as an actor's director that you appreciated and would be excited for even more actors to experience down the line?
Sure, I guess I can get started. I mean, first of all, considering it was her first feature, I think Jing was a phenomenal director to be working under. I think just the energy that she brought to set, she had so much clarity and such a good vision for her project. And especially just as an actor, I felt like she had such like a calm and grounding kind of demeanor while she was directing us that I felt like I just had so much freedom to play with Jing as my director. So I really appreciated that.
Love those qualities.
Jing's amazing. We were very collaborative throughout the entire thing, and another thing that's great is the movie is really character driven. I remember early on talking to Jing about how many characters there are. It's really an ensemble piece in a way, and I think that speaks to Jing's love for actors and like wanting to bring many people onto the project and have everyone interface. Yeah, she's the best.
Should we keep flattering Jing?
Oh, yes.
Let me continue.
This is one of my favorite things to do during an interview.
No, yeah, it was such an incredible experience. We were talking about this a little bit ago. Brandon and I were like, we just had a great time. Like, truly, it was just such a joy to come to set, and we all like hung out and just, there was an openness to creativity and just an openness to collaboration that was just magical.
There's someone else I have to highlight who's not sitting with us right now. It's Andie. Brandon, I'll throw this to you to start, but if anyone wants to jump in, please do. Here's how I'll phrase it. Your chemistry with her is, I mean, it's kind of like the beating heart of this movie. So can you maybe tell me the first thing you saw her do that made you say to yourself, like you are definitely the Coco to my Raymond?
Yes. Man, I don't know if it was an exact thing that she did that I could specifically remember, but even during like the callback scene where we were sitting in the Line Hotel in Koreatown, we had like a cool view in this like brutalist hotel room. But yeah, just the chemistry that we had during the callback was like, wow, this feels like my sister. And even us like talking outside in the waiting room, it was just so comfy. And I was like, I don't know who's gonna get these roles, but just I want to be friends with this person. And even on set, like she was such like a sisterly figure throughout the whole shoot. I felt like we really were siblings. So
I love that. I feel it while I'm watching it. One of the things about performances that always impress me most is when I only get to spend a short period of time with characters, but I could feel the history behind their choices in the movie. And I think you two do that exceptionally well. Digging into all of your characters now in this situation, just so I don't have to be here and say, like, tell me about your character. Here's how I'm going to get at it. Can you each tell me your character's greatest strength in this movie, the thing that will help them like pull this mission off or get what they want? And then I also want to know their greatest weakness, the thing that's going to do them in this situation.
That's easy. There's a lot of weaknesses though. Yeah, I think Holden, the character's biggest strength is that he doesn't give up. You know, in spite of a lot of signs that things are not, well, maybe this is spoiler territory. I don't know what kind of
Not yet.
allowance
Not yet.
I have, but yeah, I mean, he's incredibly ambitious and is not willing to take no for an answer. And I think that's a strength. I think he gets a lot done that way. But I also think that his greatest weakness is that he lies to himself and he's not honest with what's really going on and the reality of his circumstances.
Yeah, I think Emily is really good at her job. That's her greatest strength, and maybe her greatest weakness is not recognizing the biases within herself about her own community, because I think she has a very specific moment where she wants to believe that other Asian people are like well behaved and good, and that is you know, in general I would say they are, but I'm not gonna, but in this case I think that she has some biases that she has to look at, and that's maybe her weakness.
I would say that one of Raymond's greatest strengths is his ability to think on the fly and be resourceful, and kind of his charisma and ability to like talk his way out of tough situations. And yeah, he's definitely got some grit to him. But I think one of his biggest weaknesses is probably he just has a lot of vices, and and I think he's constantly like trying to be greater and do something greater, but he also has a lot of tendencies that are trying to tear him down too, and he's kind of grappling with those while he's also trying to like climb up in the world.
I'll tell you, for better or worse, Raymond could convince me to do anything. There's something about just like how he lays out a plan. I'm like, I'd believe you, I'd follow you, even into this darkness. Kelly, I want to come back your way, and it kind of leans into what I was explaining about their brother-sister relationship. I also feel the history behind your character. So I don't know if you like to work this way, but what kind of backstory work do you like to do so that, I don't know, we can feel the weight of her experience in that field informing all the choices that she makes in this particular situation?
Yeah, absolutely. Jing and I had a lot of conversations about this actually, and I went through a sort of rabbit hole of watching videos of actual FBI agents on the internet, women, and a lot of them were talking about how they did not like how Hollywood glamorizes this field of work. And Jing and I had a very specific conversation about how the art crimes department is absolutely underfunded, and that's why Emily has these like ill-fitting suits, because she wouldn't have the money to be like styled or wearing name brands. Like she's sort of in this part in her point in her career where she's really kind of struggling, you know? So it was really cool to be able to feel like I was a real human being and someone who probably got her suits at Marshall's and was like, whatever, I gotta get to work. So yeah, we had lots of conversations about backstory and about like little choices that created this person.
Oh, I love details like that and how they fill out a world. And I think stuff like that with your character did it very successfully. I'm also very curious about the research any of you did into art forgery and what it takes. Is there any, I guess, like a surprising fact that you learned that maybe we don't even necessarily see directly in the movie, but we could still feel kind of like informing your work?
I can go first. I think my favorite fun fact about art forgery was there was a really big case recently. You can research it. There was a Netflix documentary, and the art forger behind that was actually Chinese and fled the country. Never been interviewed even once. I think that's fascinating.
It's a documentary on Netflix? I'm gonna watch this now.
Yeah, Jing's kind of the genius on this. I mean, I will say, like, she gave me a book to read while we were working on this. And I just think, I mean, you see it on screen, but the detail already just in the writing. And then when you actually see it come to life, it's very clear that we have a genius on our hands and someone who's so well researched. And it all just kind of bled through, I think, to the rest of us. We were kind of taking her lead there.
Yeah.
Fascinating. All right, Edmund, I'm going to come your way briefly because another key relationship in this movie is between Holden and Talia. To get at that one, can you maybe tell me something about these two characters that draws them together, but then also tease some of the differences they have that could kind of threaten the foundation of their relationship while they're doing this?
Yeah, this is this relationship is something Jing and I spoke about a lot, and I think Holden really relies on her, and really she's a bit more true blue than he is ultimately, and is more realistic and more honest, I think. But he needs her, and as things continue to not go his way, the feeling that he's losing her is like probably the biggest loss, although it may not seem that way. Yeah, and Eva is great.
I think we saw her at South by Southwest last year.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I really do love getting to see the same people at festivals, especially when it's a bunch of actors that I know and love that are also supporting a first-time feature filmmaker, which is like such an important part of indie filmmaking. So the fact that we went from Your Monster to this.
I know.
Everyone go watch Your Monster.
I'm dying to see this movie, by the way.
It's awesome.
It's so like fills my genre-loving heart.
Yeah, it's fun.
So good. Jing, I'm going to come back your way. I'm going to finish with two really big questions for you. The first one came from something that you mentioned in your director's statement. You said, "I've been constantly forced to grapple with art being viewed as a bankable asset." Now that you've made a feature film, I guess, how do you feel about movie making being an art, but also an industry? And what are some goals you have for yourself in order, I guess, to tick both boxes because it's inevitable, but in a way that's creatively fulfilling for you?
Absolutely. I think there was something beautiful that Robert Rodriguez said at the South by Southwest Filmmakers Lunch that was hosted yesterday. And it was a really great way to start the festival because he said, commit to a body of work. So it's not so much about failures or wins, it's about a filmography and a body of work. And I think about all the female directors out there who are currently building a body of work, and I think I really want to build my own body of work, and so that's how I'm going to view it. It was a really, really inspiring thing for him to say.
Again, first feature, I like the idea of a body of work. Bring me, I don't want to be greedy, but bring me more ASAP. So my last question is one that I love asking as much as possible. I ask it on my interview series all the time, and I feel like when someone directs a first feature, it's an especially important thing to bring up. So in film and television, we give each other awards. Super cool. We should keep doing that. I find that very few people tell themselves good job as much as they should. So what is something you accomplished making Forge that you know you'll always be able to look back on and say, you know what, I'm really proud of what I did there?
Yeah, I think for a first feature, Forge was definitely ambitious, and everyone told me so, especially with the ensemble cast aspect. And I can look back and think about like the wonderful cast that I worked with and how amazing that was, as well as our cast, our crew. And I worked with a lot of my friends from film school on this, and they're people I've been working for almost a decade. So I can say that I was really proud to work with people that I knew and cherished as collaborators.
I love that. Filmmaking families make me so happy when people build those groups and stick with them. So keep doing it. That group served you quite well here, and like really phenomenal work. Congratulations to all of you on Forge. I can't wait for the world to see it.
Thank you.
Thank you.